Amigos de TNT Sports México, qué gusto saludarlos aquí desde Londres, desde los estudios de la Premier League, y nos encontramos con una leyenda del fútbol inglés, ganador del Balón de Oro, jugador de Liverpool, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Michael Owen. Thank you so much for your time. How are you this morning?
Very good to see you. I'm fine, thank you very much.
Welcome here to TNT Sports Mexico. To start this interview, I would like to ask you, how was the introduction for you to football from your father, from your family? How do you start? When did you start playing football?
Yeah, well, my father was a professional footballer. He played in more of the lower leagues, but he played for lots of teams like Bradford and Chester and Port Vale, Rochdale, Everton. Was at the start of his career. Cambridge was another. So he played in the lower levels. So football was in my family. I have two older brothers, so they wanted to play football, and I wanted to join them. So it was always in my family. And then I started playing at local level when I was about 7 years old, and then got picked up by lots of different clubs, really. All the clubs wanted me to sign for them, but I went to Liverpool when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and that was it. I stayed at Liverpool for my whole career until I got into the first team, and then, of course, you know, the rest of the story. But it was quite a normal upbringing, a normal introduction to football. I was always, you know, quite good as a young boy. My career sort of went like that, and then slowly. But as a youngster, I broke all the records for England schoolboys, England youth teams. I was always looking like being a professional footballer.
And what memories do you have when you made your professional debut? What do you remember? And your family as well?
Yeah, it was quite strange because obviously everybody knew me at that point. I was breaking all the records in the youth team, and then we had reserve team football, and I was scoring all the goals there. And so I think everybody knew that I was going to, you know, have a long career in the game. However, for me, it was still obviously very important, your first opportunity, your first taste of professional football, to come into the Liverpool team. It doesn't matter how much success you've had before. This is the big test now against men in the big league. And yeah, thankfully on my debut, I scored and just felt part of the team straight away. So that helped me settle in, you know, almost from the start.
And then you score many goals for Liverpool, but do you have any particular favorite goal wearing the Liverpool shirt?
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool was when I was at my best, I guess. That was when I was, you know, playing at the highest level. You mentioned before winning Balón d'Ors and winning trophies. It was just, you know, when I was young, it was so exciting. You know, later on in my career, it was more difficult trying to still be the player I was. When you're getting older and you're getting injuries and things like that, it was more difficult. But early on in my career at Liverpool was when I was at my best. In terms of individual goals, I probably enjoyed the FA Cup final the most. We were playing against what you would class as the invincible era of Arsenal, a great team, and it was a season whereby we won virtually every trophy. We didn't win the Premier League, but we won every other trophy that we played. And yeah, 1-0 behind and scoring 2 goals in the last 5 minutes was just an absolute dream come true to win the FA Cup. So I think those 2 goals for Liverpool were probably my fondest moments.
And can you tell me one player in particular that you enjoy playing the most with Liverpool, or the best player you play with in Liverpool?
Yeah, Steven Gerrard. Easy question. He was, you know, me and him both were at the academy, we're in the same team as 10-year-olds. We played thousands of games together through, you know, all the way through. And then we obviously played for England together at every level. And then when I made my debut, I made my debut a lot earlier than him. But everybody knew he was going to be equally as successful in his career. And then a little bit later on, he made his debut, and then obviously we reconnect, playing alongside each other. It's one of those combinations where you're almost telepathic. You just know what he's thinking. He knows what I'm thinking. I know that he can play the ball wherever he wants and wherever I want. And as soon as he got the ball, my attitude changed. My my senses changed. I was just alive and ready and waiting, and our combination scored hundreds and hundreds of goals throughout our lives.
And we have to talk about that famous goal in the World Cup in '98 against Argentina. Tell me about it a little bit. What was your reaction, your thinking that day? How do you live that day?
Yeah, I mean, you try to just take it as another game, but of course you're young and you're excited. I probably didn't sleep much the night before just because I knew the size of the game and playing against a big rival in a big competition. It was an exciting time. The game itself was obviously an incredible game as well. I think it must have got voted the best game in the tournament. There was lots of swings to and fro. Of course, it went to penalties at the end. Red card, disallowed goals, penalty, everything. It had so much action in the game. From my point of view, I was obviously only 18 at the time. I had no fear. Argentina probably didn't know me or know much about me. But I, had a full season from playing for Liverpool, was in real confident form, confident mood. In that first season as a 17-year-old, I'd won the Golden Boot in the Premier League. So I was, thinking I could take on the world at that time. And the goal I scored was just, how do I say? It was just what was happening at the time. I could do that at any point. That was what I could do. If you said to me when I was 28, go and score that goal, it was physically impossible I could do that then. It was just, I was very, very fast. I had great balance. I could beat players. I loved running at players and taking them on and scoring goals. So that was just almost, the product of just what I was doing all the time at that point. I scored a very similar goal, a couple of years earlier for England, in one of the youth teams. So that was just something that I could do. I did do. It was great that it was on the biggest stage for the world to see. And of course, it got me into the minds of people all around the world that, everybody knew me in the Premier League. Everybody knew me if they were Liverpool fans. But after scoring a goal like that, everybody knew me around the world.
And tell me your reaction when you won the Balón de Oro in 2001 ahead of so many great players like Raúl, even Beckham, Totti, Figo, Rivaldo, Henry, Zidane, and you were the best of the world. How do you feel in that time?
It was, I feel happier now than I did at the time. I think when you're a player, when you're competing at that level, that elite level for the big trophies, for the big awards, it doesn't feel like it should. You're just, wanting everything. And once you win something, it doesn't matter anymore. It's the next thing. And I've got another game and another tournament and another trophy. And if you've got an attitude that you achieve something, you score a goal and you think, oh, that was lovely. Oh, what a fantastic goal. And that's it. And you start, great goal. Let's think about it again. You'll never do anything in life. It's the next thing. You've got to be greedy and hungry and fire. And, so it was great. I was happy for that moment. I mean, but it's quite embarrassing. You look at me picking the trophy up on Anfield. I'm smiling. It's like at the start of a game and it's like, come on, get off now. There's a game. We're about to play a game in the Premier League. I've got to score. It was almost like, yeah, I was really happy. But now I sit there and I look at the trophy.
You enjoy it more now?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at it and think, the names you just read, it was, it was a huge achievement. And it is a huge, for anybody to win the Ballon d'Or. So I appreciate it a lot more now than I did. When I won it, I was like, right, okay, thank you, really happy. I want to win it again next year. And that's that's just the attitude that any elite sportsman has.
And what do you think of Rodri winning the Balón de Oro this year?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, he had a phenomenal season. Obviously, winning trophies with Manchester City, winning the big trophy, the European Championships with Spain, being one of the most important players. I mean, even after. Now he's unfortunately injured. I think people realise his importance to those teams. But he had an incredible season. He's been incredible for a long time now. Probably, or in my eyes, definitely the best player in the world in his position. And of course, when you have individual ability like that and your teams are then successful, then that puts you in a position to have a chance of winning the Balón de Oro, and he deserved it.
And now talk to me a little bit, when you joined Real Madrid in this Galacticos era, how was that experience in Spain?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was the great era, as you say, the Galacticos era. You had players like Roberto Carlos and Ronaldo and Zidane and Figo and Raul. It was so good. David Beckham, of course. It was such a great team to come and play in. Playing with great players. You always had the ball. You were always getting chances. You were always scoring goals. It was just brilliant. So it was a big change for me. I'd never even thought I was going to move clubs throughout my life. I got into the Liverpool team when I was a young boy, and I thought that was my team, and that was always going to be my team. But when an opportunity comes to play for Real Madrid, it's just impossible to say no. Different culture, different weather, different food, different players. That white kit. The Bernabeu Stadium, it's the biggest club in the world, I think. And with all the great players, I think it's hard to say no. So, yeah, I had a great time.
Beautiful. And then you came back to England to play for Newcastle. But I want to ask you, after playing for Newcastle, who rang you to play for Manchester United?
Yeah, Sir Alex Ferguson. It was quite a nervous time, really, because when I finished at Newcastle, of course, my level wasn't what it was. I wasn't as good a player as what I was. So, of course, I needed to play in a good team, in a top team. And when I left Newcastle, I had no more time left on my contract. Of course, the whole world knew that I was available. So waiting for your agent to tell you who's got in touch, or waiting for your phone to go to see who wants you to play for them, is a little bit nerve-wracking, because it's your life, am I going to be living away from home again? I had children. I wanted to really go back and live at home. And the first team that contacted me was Everton.
Wow.
And I thought, oh no, I can't go to Everton. I've been a Liverpool player. The fans will hate me if I go to Everton. So I waited on my phone for a little bit longer, and some foreign teams came in, but I was just still waiting for a good opportunity. Well, of course, I was phoning Liverpool, but Brendan Rodgers at the time, he didn't need me. Liverpool had other strikers. I think Torres was playing at the time, or Suarez, but I think it was Torres at the time. So Liverpool didn't need me, so I knew that was not going to be a possibility. And then Nicky Butt, the old Manchester United player that was with me at Newcastle, he phoned me and said, the gaffer's going to phone you. And I was like, who's the gaffer? Thinking, gaffer at Newcastle. But he said, no, Sir Alex. I was like, oh my word, right, okay. Anyway, I sat by my phone. 1 hour later, Sir Alex phoned me and asked me to play for Manchester United. So at that time, obviously, I had mixed emotions. I knew that, my Liverpool fans were going to be, upset. But of course, I knew from the inside that Liverpool didn't want me. So I had to, play for a great club like Manchester United. It meant I could live at home. It meant I could play with great players and an amazing stadium in the Champions League and have a chance of winning big trophies. So I had to put my fan head off and just think sensibly and think, this is your career. You have one career. You've got to play it, at the best team, and that's why I agreed.
In your opinion, who is the best player of the Premier League of all times?
Thierry Henry. I think he was. In my position, I was obviously a player that was competing for, golden boots and things like that. There's been nobody really that's come to the Premier League and I've thought, oh no, whether it's Alan Shearer, whether it's Drogba or Van Nistelrooy or loads and loads of great players, I've always thought to myself, you're great, but I can do, that, and I can do that, and I can score as many goals as you, and I think I'm as good, and blah, 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 whatever you think. When Thierry Henry turned up and started scoring all these goals, I looked at him and thought, you're never going to win the Golden Boot again in the Premier League. While he's here, he was different. I mean, different. his touch, his speed, his finishing, his strength, his size. He was just different. Thierry Henry, I think, is. And now, obviously, you know, players like Ronaldo have played in the Premier League, and you would say, yeah, well, he's the best player ever to have played in the. But he was only like top class for 1 or 2 years. Of course, he did most of his great performances while he was in La Liga for Real Madrid. But for the time that he was here and the difference he made, Thierry Henry was the best player, I think.
Are you a Messi or Ronaldo fan?
Oh, both. It's impossible not to be. I mean, how can you choose? You know, I think naturally Messi's the best player I've ever seen. He was just born to be great. Whereas I love the way that Ronaldo has worked and worked and worked to be, you know, as good, have similar, to be in this conversation. You know, you're debating who's the best, and he's done it in a different way. I don't think he was, you know, he didn't land on the earth like Messi did. Messi's just, I don't even think he has to try, and he's just naturally incredible. Whereas Ronaldo, as I say, he was the first in the training ground, the last out, diet, his preparation, the way he spends time in the gym. He lives and has got absolutely everything out of his career, and I admire that. So two very different people, both that have reached the absolute pinnacle, one that was just God-given and one that had to work for it. It's a real interesting combination.
And the best swap shirt you have in your collection?
I think in the World Cup, in the quarterfinals in 2002, Rivaldo.
Wow.
I scored the first goal for England, and Rivaldo equalised just before half time, and then Ronaldinho went on to score to beat us 2-1. So, but after the game, me and Rivaldo swapped shirts. So I guess.
Not bad, not bad. And can you tell me any football clubs from Mexico?
Oh wow, Monterrey. They have a team.
Monterrey,
yeah. Cool. That's put me on the spot.
Sorry.
So Chicharito, he plays for the famous one called
Chivas.
Chivas. That's it, Chivas. Yeah. And he was a great player playing for Manchester United. I was good friends with him. In fact, I watched a program on him the other day when he went back to Chivas after all that time. So he's a big hero in Mexico. I know.
Right.
Yeah. I'll ask you a question.
Perfect.
Mexican football good at the moment? Strong? No?
Not really.
Not good.
Not good. Okay, Michael Owen, thanks so much for your time. And
no problem at all.
A pleasure
Lovely
to speak
to
with
see
you
you
all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.